Hello and welcome to the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast with me, clinical somatic educator and founder of Total Somatics, Heidi Hadley. The Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast has been designed to help you gain a deeper understanding to how your mind and body work. You will learn about your amazing mind and body and why over time you can feel pain, recurring injuries and poor posture. Within this podcast, I will teach you why this doesn't have to be your future or the norm for you. Would you like to learn how to reduce pain, move freely, and gain a new lease of life? Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Now, in today's episode, we're going to delve into how being stuck in a tight body can start to affect your esteem, your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your mindset as a whole. So in the previous two episodes, we've considered what it's feeling like and what is happening to create this sensation of being stuck in a tight body. Last time we also considered the symptoms of chronic fatigue and how that starts to show up and the reasons why that's linked with being stuck in a tight body. So today, let's look at another area of this, and that is when it affects a person's self-worth or self-esteem, or it starts to mess with their head is an expression I hear a lot of. Because it's really common when people are suffering with a lot of pain, they're limited with their movement and their mobility as a whole, that they're starting to feel that they lose their identity at places like work or in a sports club or a hobby that they've had, because they're no longer able to function and operate at the level that they have done previously. And so what happens is if they feel that they've lost this identity or this role in their life, they don't feel that they're of any importance or any role or use to anybody anymore. And so this really starts to impact them greatly. And the key thing is that people feel that they can no longer do the activities that they used to love to do, that really got them out of bed and going in the morning. And that again is this vicious cycle of it affects your self-worth, it affects your self-esteem and your mindset as a whole. And then there's other aspects that come in that they feel like this. They've got the pain, they've got the limited mobility and the other symptoms that come with it. But they may have had this learned mindset of pushing through the pain or working through the pain. And yet what's happening is because this was a learned behavior, which sometimes has contributed to what's happening now, they keep struggling and the struggle gets greater because the body is going, I need you to slow down. I need you to take a break. We need to reset here. And so they're pushing through the pain. They're feeling the stress. They just want to achieve what they've always done. And yet it's starting to amplify their pain. And as we learned in the last episode, chronically tight muscles affect people's energy levels, and they can feel really disheartened because they're already feeling quite tired. And then with this extra expenditure that they're having to use to keep their muscles chronically tight, they start to feel like they're running on empty. They haven't got anything left in the tank. And also, let's consider this for a moment. When your muscles are tight, they're going to start to restrict not just the mobility of how you move as a whole, but your rib mobility. So if your ribs aren't able to move so freely because there's this hunkered down tightness all in and around your rib cage, it means that we're not taking in as much oxygen as we could do. So it's going to affect our inner health. It's going to affect oxygenation of our tissues. This can start to affect mental clarity. We can feel quite foggy headed, just not so focused. And this, if you consider, if you've got this rigid rib cage, and it's obviously going to affect your musculature and your posture as a whole, people start to feel self-conscious and their confidence is really quite impacted because they can feel and see this stooped posture, and they might feel that because they're just shortening. But we know, and if you've ever seen any of the pictures I share on Total Somatics within Instagram and Facebook, some of those pictures have gone viral. They've gone viral because there's literally sometimes an hour's difference, or there could be a few days difference, and the person looks taller, slimmer, longer. And that's because when we've softened and released the muscles, it actually makes them stand taller, that everything's more open, their waist is longer. because before that, the muscles were chronically tight, hunkering and drawing and tightening everything down. And so can you imagine if somebody's looking in the mirror and they're feeling they've got this stooped posture, they're feeling shorter than they used to be, it is going to affect their self-worth and their self-image. And I cannot, if I had $1 or £1 for every time somebody has said these things now, I mean, it would be incredible, really, because I've had people saying, I used to be so tall, I've lost my height. Oh, my shoulders are so rounded. My head leads and my bottom follows. So they're feeling like they're stooped and they're walking a bit like a duck. Somebody said to me they walk like a duck. I mean, how disempowering do these expressions feel? Imagine if that's how you feel. You're layering those descriptions of who you are. And then also the disempowering expressions that come with I am, and then fill the blank. And they're not really the most encouraging descriptions that come. Now, if somebody keeps repeating I am, whatever it is, over and over and over again, we know that that becomes their identity. And when that becomes their identity, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you focus on grows. And that's what starts to happen. So this is why, can you see why total somatics is so powerful? We're not just considering movement, we're looking at mindset and mindfulness. We're looking at those narratives, those internal narratives, and those belief systems that we can hold. And sometimes they can be learned behavioral patterns or mindsets or narratives that have come from previous generations. So what we want to do is break that loop, break that habitual internal narrative or the disempowering belief systems that you have. Because a common expression you hear is wear and tear. We hear that all the time, don't we? But how many times have you heard people say, it's just because you're getting old? This is just what happens when you get old. Well, did you know that within clinical somatics, there's this expression, thanks to Thomas Hanna, who created the modality of somatics. He used the expression, the myth of aging. The myth of aging. Isn't that interesting? If he was alive today, I would love to have his view on this, because all clinical somatic educators around the world would also testify to this, is that we can see that it is a myth, because with modern technology, with the way that people sit all day now on devices and phones, there is a habituation. So when you do something long enough, your brain starts to adapt and change. So through habits or habituation, repetition, we can sculpt and shape and mold our muscles to a certain way. And that's why now you're seeing young people with what we would have called in the old days an old man stoop. They've got round shoulders. They've got this head that juts forward. This is what used to be kind of connected with getting old, the old age stoop and posture. But you see, we've advanced from then. We've learned that neuroplasticity is the process that your brain does to rewire. And we can rewire for good, healthy habits and good postures and good movement patterns, or we can live subconsciously and mindlessly and not notice our habits and allow them to dictate us. And they can sculpt and mold and change us to create stooped, rounded shoulders from sitting at computers and on devices all day. And it's when people start getting the symptoms, then they think, wow, I've got to do something here. You see, what we want to do is, before we get to that point, be mindful and notice our habits, notice our internal mind, our narratives, our internal narratives or mindset, because what you think about reflects in your posture and your movements, your breathing patterns too. So can you see that we, thankfully, thanks to neuroscience, we've moved on and we've realized that neuroplasticity is molding and sculpting and changing us to what we do on a regular basis. So if we want to just stoop and slump and do that sort of thing, your brain will go, okay, this is the new normal. I'm going to change and adapt to that new normal. Whereas if we want to use total somatic movement, mindset, mindfulness principles, we can reset our muscle length, we can reset our internal dialogue, we can develop more total somatic mindfulness practices in the day and use that process of neuroplasticity to unwind and soften the muscles, improve elasticity in our muscles and joints, and create a beautiful rhythm and wiggle that we have when we walk. And we know that that's going to create an overall benefit to our muscles, our joints, our fascia, our blood supply, our self-worth and image. because we can get back to the activities that we absolutely love to do. We can have that lovely, tall, proud, confident posture. Our chest opens out. We're looking at the horizon, then looking down towards the floor all the time. Our breathing improves. We have more oxygen in our tissues. We have greater clarity and focus because we've got more oxygen in. Can you see how powerful this work is? That's why I really want to share it with you too. So if you want to join the Total Somatics membership, if you go to totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page, and you'll see that when you go to the Join Now page, that if the membership doors are currently closed, you have the opportunity to leave your email address there. And the next time we open the doors to the membership, you'll be the very first to find out. They only open a few times a year for a few days at a time, because the rest of the time I'm fully focused in the membership to serve and support the community. But if you want to start today, you can still go to totalsomatics.com, click on the shop page, and you will see there are audios, there are video workshops, there's lots of things to help support you today, to start to help you reduce your pain, improve your posture, increase your mobility, all the benefits that come within Total Somatics. And that just lifts your identity and lifts your self-worth, your self-esteem, and you can get back to the activities that you absolutely love to do. So until next time, all my love and very best wishes. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.